Chapter 22. Tricks Up My Sleeve. I woke up alone again and stumbled into the bathroom. The little metal case where I keep my medicinals fell out of my bag of holding, and I poured a teaspoon's worth into my palm and licked it clean. What the hell is that? Looking simply horrified, Logan stood in the doorway with his hands on his hips. What did you just take? I corked the bottle and put it back inside. Birth control. Just another difference in our cultures, I guess. It didn't occur to me that their kind would forbid such a simple thing. Birth control. His mouth fought for words while he blinked at me until he scratched his head. Why? Shrugging, I tossed the case back in my bag. Because I don't like kids. He fell against the counter, wiping his mouth with his hand. We don't do that kind of thing here, Tessa. Babies are sacred. I'd seen death everywhere since my earliest memories, and I huffed to laugh at him at being overly dramatic for no reason as usual. Not to this girl. My lifestyle is not child-friendly. How he judged me with those heavy eyes made me toss up my hands. You boys are convinced we're mates, but... I pointed at my chest. I don't believe that, and I won't just start popping out kids I don't want to make you happy. Rolling his eyes to the wall, he waved me off, backing toward the door. Oh, that again, huh? Pointing back at me, he paused at the door. You're always looking for a way out when things get too real, but I'll tell you what. He nodded as he disappeared into the bedroom. I got a couple of tricks up my sleeve, too. Later, when I came downstairs, I found him in the kitchen chopping vegetables, and I slid onto the bar stool to watch him. You're pretty good with a knife. All I got was a nod, and I rested my head against my fist. You're still mad about this baby thing, aren't you? He shook his head and cleaned the blade's edge off on the cutting board. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Hesitating for a second, he pointed it at me, his whole demeanor flipping when he smiled. I want to know when you're making me something. I've already cooked for you a few times. Bunching my cheeks, I shrugged back at him. As soon as someone teaches me how to. When he narrowed his eyes, I flipped up my hands. I'm rich, Logan. I pay people to do that. He dumped the vegetables into a pot and wrinkled his nose. Didn't your mother ever cook for you? Laughing until I snorted, I pointed at myself. My mother? A story for another time, but just so you know, Mama was a princess before she ran off with my dad. The thought of her doing anything so menial had me wiping the tears from my face. No, let's just say she wasn't raised that way. Peeking back over his shoulder to check the boiling water, he hummed to himself. I guess I don't know you at all. So tell me about yourself. My fingers slid back and forth over the counter. Talking about our way of life to outsiders was frowned upon, and I wasn't sure what Teddy blabbed about it. From what point? I mean, what do you want to know? All of it. He crossed his arms and rested against the counter behind him. Start from the beginning. I scratched my forehead as I decided which information I could trust him with. All right, in a nutshell, I lived in Savannah until my parents died. Then we traveled the world with a guardian until we were old enough to defend ourselves, and there you go. Nodding like he already knew the answer, he stared out the window. Who murdered your parents? I shook my head and twisted on the bar stool as I replayed the cloudy images. I don't remember. I'm a product of childhood trauma, and in case you weren't aware, it messes with your noggin. I heard they were executed for it while we were gone, though. I knew Teddy and Holder had more answers than I did, but I was afraid to know the truth. Some things are too awful to relive. Switching back to that jealous asshole on the next heartbeat, he hardened his eyes. Where's the man who raised you now? I tilted my head toward the back of the house. Back home. A shot of air left his nose as he smirked and tapped a finger against the counter. This is your home. Is he the reason you and Teddy stopped talking for so long? I shook my head at the window. No, that's not why. Sniffing the air, he leaned in closer. What did he do to break you guys up? Nothing. Teddy and Holder have been fighting for years. It was a long time coming. Sighing, he shook his head and put his hand up to me. Why is it so hard for you to tell me the truth? I love to lie. It's my favorite. I lie just to lie sometimes. But every once in a while, it was more fun to tell someone the truth. Okay, then. I kissed him. The devastation on his face made me arch my eyebrow back at him for being such a damn nosy Rosie. I love Halder, and I put the moves on him one night, and Teddy walked in on it. His knee bounced as he pushed air around his mouth, and the tips of his ears were on fire. "You're in love with him?" Only the mention of his name made me sit up a little straighter. Halder was the one person I was sure of. Our bond was bigger than love, more than family. He was a man who couldn't die, and I was a girl who lost everyone she cared about, the one stable thing in my world. I might have to give up certain things to be with Logan, but Halder would never be one of them. Yes, of course I am, but he doesn't feel the same way about me. He sees me as the little girl he rescued from a hospital, and that's all I could ever be to him. Reaching across the island, I wrapped my fingers around his. "It's in your nature to be a controlling twat. I get that, but Halder is not someone to concern yourself with." I shook my head at him. "That's not one battle you can win, and if you want this to work out, I urge you not to test me on that." The edge of his thumb rubbed at the space below his lip as he glared at me, saying nothing as he slid from under my hand to tend to the stove. But like I said, his silence was the scariest part about him. Thank you for listening. The next chapter is available on the channel. And if you enjoyed the story, subscribing, liking, leaving a review on Amazon helps more people find it.